Hello viewers, it's James Kalm, your half-assed reporter, and I'm back. And we are on the Lower East Side on Suffolk Street. We're going to go in and look at a sculpture exhibition here at the Spencer Brownstone Gallery. The show is by Shane Darwent, and it's titled Flat and Dome. Well, it was a Sunday afternoon. It's kind of misty outside, and I was running around down here. I happened to pop in for this show, and I get a lot of requests for sculpture. So I thought this was actually some pretty interesting and innovative stuff. We'll take a little stroll around here. I guess this is the piece that I bumped into when I walked in the gallery that caught my eye. This is titled Basalt, 2018. Storefront awnings, fluorescent lights. This is 168 by 70 by 52 inches. Well, I just like the boldness of the black and white stripes, and also the interior illumination. And as I started to look at this piece, I was thinking there are some other aspects that are kind of interesting that maybe relate a little bit to art history. Now, I was wondering whether he has intentionally picked this striped fabric. Maybe Daniel Buren, one of the godfathers of conceptual painting, conceptual installation, uses a striped fabric, and he's got a standard measurement, I don't know what it is, 15 centimeters, something like that, that he uses and has used for like 35 or 40 years. Also, I think this little tab here is nice. Awnings of Tulsa. So it says that Shane is a studio artist in Tulsa whose interdisciplinary practice focuses on architecture, sculpture, painting, and photography. And it says that he's exhibited internationally. I think the other thing that's nice is that, well, he's got a wide practice, and he's dealing with kind of suburban architectural and garden kinds of tropes. This is titled Floorwork Elbow Curve, 2017, galvanized steel, gravel, wood. This is Bullard, 2018, 57 by 4 by 4. Now this looks like a post you might see in a parking garage or a strip mall parking lot. This is an example of one of Shane's photographs. New Orleans Breakdown, 2018. Pigment print on dye bond, spray paint, and wood. Okay, so we've kind of got a mirrored image, the left hand and the right hand half of this. And He's done some little alterations here. I like the stark black and whites. And even though this is a photograph, there is a kind of a painterly quality about this. And yeah, the high contrast is nice. And like little squibs of spray paint. I think this is, at least one side is monolith barrage. Darwent's interests lie somewhere in between the city and the suburb. Vinyl siding, fences with broken links, and gravel forms, familiar in any region, are featured in his work. His dismantling and collaging of veneers, faux materials exposes their mimicry and converts them into monuments to these memories. Okay. This is another photograph with collage elements. And it's nice that we can show this on the back of another piece. Pigment print on board and wood, 22 by 22 by 2. Well, these pieces are very nicely crafted. And again, there's a real banality to the particular image that he picked. And also a kind of a nice conceptual play with these crossing diagonal forms. One of them is photographic, the other one is materialistic. Also, yeah, I like the colors. Floor work, long curve with milk crates. Well, I don't know how many of you have spent time out in the Midwest or the West, and you see a lot of this kind of synthetic color, but it's all been kind of sun-bleached and patinaed with prairie dust and various kinds of things. This is titled Bus Stop, En route to the Eternal City 2017. Storefront awnings, fluorescent lights, UV print on die board, cinder block, stucco wood. It's 126 by 72 by 86 inches. And again, we've got this kind of nice low-keyed color that's almost sun-bleached, but that's played off against it's kind of illuminated, very bright, fresh commercial awning of shopping mall or strip mall colors. This is titled Split Face. Pigment print on die board, epoxy paint, and wood. .61 by 96 by 4. And in a lot of ways, this is dealing with some of the tropes that a lot of contemporary painting are dealing with. the presentation, the little shelf that it's sitting on. The shaped picture plane. And more of the understated colors. Also, I like the way that there is an underlying structure with these awnings, and I really realized that these are not intended as solid forms. They're meant to be empty, just stretched fabric. And they kind of relate that to the American dream, I guess, that, yeah, at least maybe American capitalism has just kind of stretched very thinly and very tightly over a framework. This is the biggest piece in the show. This is titled Ballast 2018, Storefront Awnings, Fluorescent Lights. This is 215 inches tall. And okay, this is nice because you can come on this side and really get a view of the metal structure here. Now we got our electric lights in there. That's kind of a homage to Dan Flavin. Yeah, the metal framework kind of makes me think of Don Judd. And I think Shane has probably spent a lot of time thinking about the colors. So here we've got our red, yellow, and blue, little green. And that's kind of a play on Barney Newman. Joseph's Garden. UV print on die board, stucco, flower pot, and wood. Okay, so this is all part of it. I'll tell you the truth, if I didn't have the little guide here and I wasn't tipped off, I could probably very easily walk past this and not even notice this. So they do have a little pump in there recirculating the water. I wonder if that little weed is part of it too, probably. And of course this angled wall here kind of makes me think of Michael Asher. This is titled Floorwork V-Shape 2017, Galvanized Steel, Gravel, and Wood. And again, another piece that would very easily slip by you if you weren't tipped off. This has been Shane Darwent, Flat End Dome. Here at the Spencer Brownstone Gallery, 170B Suffolk Street on the Lower East Side. Okay, we're going to drop in to Marlbrough Contemporary and take a look at a show, Red Grooms Handiwork 1955 to 2018, curated by Dan Nadel. Well, I've been a fan of Red Grooms' work for a long, long time. I'm not going to make a lot of comments here. I'll try to stop and point out a few things. This piece is titled White Nights 2005, oil on canvas 42 by 52. Well, it's been a long day and I've already been out recording about 2.5 hours of video this morning, so I'm not going to get too carried away with this. This is Bagels and Cream Cheese 2011, acrylic on board. I think this is kind of the thing that Red is best known for, is his big diorama sculpture pieces. This is Buster Keaton and Friends, 1980 to 83, and this is the kind of stuff that I was seeing him do when I got to New York in the late 70s, early 80s.
Seems like she sees a television show.
Yeah, in a certain way, I think that's one of the things that kind of turned some people off. This is a wonderful piece. This is called Great Western Act, 1971, oil on masonite. And I started looking at some of the pieces in this show, and I realized that in a certain way, Red was one of the first people that kind of got into bad painting or neo-expressionism, or maybe some funky version of the trance avant-garde. This is titled Bubblegum, 2001, enamel on epoxy. Well, I was a big fan of his work because I liked the humor, but I didn't see a lot of his paintings. This is titled Walking the Dog Revisited 2018, and here is the original. This is Walking the Dog 1981, so it kind of shows if you're good, you can always go back and redo your greatest hits. I was impressed with how good Red is as a straight painter, and I'll probably read a little bit from the press release in a moment. He was also deeply engaged. Okay, I like this piece. This is 1957, titled Smoking Man. It's titled Moonanauts Meet the Moon Wizard, 1962, enamel and latex on cloth. Grooms was born in Nashville in 1937. By the time he was 20, he had passed through Chicago, New York, and most crucially, Provincetown. In each city, he had absorbed the artistic zeitgeist, the art brut and surrealism aesthetics of Chicago, the ab-ex mayhem of New York, and the bohemian paradise of Provincetown. This is titled Forensics. This is 2018. Grooms played a crucial role in late 1950s downtown Manhattan, developing what became known as happenings. Here represented by Grooms' 1970s diorama of his own burning building performance, and co-founding two loft galleries where he exhibited friends and peers including Bob Thompson, Klaus Oldenburg, Jim Dine, and Marcia Marcus. Both Oldenburg and Dine were pretty well known as people that kind of started, who were the first 3 or 4 people that started doing the happenings. These years are chronicled in the artist's early drawings and paintings, each a self-contained work of expressive mark-making, observation, humor, and all-out fantasy, influenced by artists such as Lester Johnson and Fairfield Porter and the cartoonist Bill Holman. These works exist, as Grooms himself did, just at the intersections of abstract 1950s and the pop 1960s, and document the artist finding his voice in community. Okay, I thought this was one of the more interesting pieces in the show. I think this is from the late 50s. Via Galeffa Studio, 1960-61, oil on canvas, 44 by 88 inches. Okay, now we'll go in and see one of his environments. Now this is all painted canvas. I think it's all painted with acrylic. Actually, you can see the red has got a pretty good color sense. And I remember living in New York around this time and going down to 42nd Street, and there was a whole neighborhood of these kind of adult bookstores. Not that I ever went in them, but this might look like some kind of bizarre, weird cartoon fantasy, but in reality, there is a lot of realism here. And I think, you know, in certain ways, one of the things that is kind of pushed Red into the background is the fact that he is such an over-the-top kind of maniacal jokester that a lot of people just can't handle it. It's like Jim Carrey or Robin Williams. It's just, he is like on all the time, and it's a little hard to take. I was also thinking I would cut out the section and post a little program on Facebook, but I decided that I think that a lot of this would get my videos pulled and make them red flag me and do what they've done before, which is shut my account down for a couple of days. Now, as I said, this is not that far away from what reality was, and of course I didn't see too many characters like this. I think this is probably the biggest piece in the show. This is titled Louis XVI Swan Boat, circa 1970s. This is acrylic on paper. And I think, interestingly, you can sort of see in this section where there's a lot of kind of unfinished just brushwork, and it's very slippery. He's got a great facility with his line, and I think because it's on paper, he was even able to get more draftsman-y, get his drawing out. But this kind of gets to what I was talking about, kind of this over-the-top grotesque humor. And in certain ways, if you were to contrast this against some of the neo-expressionist or trans-avant-garde artists that were coming along about 5 or 6 years later, that this is just humorous, whereas the neo-expressionists, there was a certain kind of anxiety, and I mean, maybe people have an easier time taking anxiety seriously. That was very nice coloristically. That's Dolores Del Rio and Charles Boyer, 1979. Lillian Gish and Henry B. Wolfhall in Way. I think that one is enamel on aluminum. This is one of his little dioramas. The Burning Building, 1970, acrylic on wood with light bulbs. And I kind of like just the kind of garage handmade tinkering part. I especially like the little handle there. It's not presumptuous. It's just something out of the hardware store. Smoky and Sparky, 1958. Now, there were a lot of other artists, well, maybe not a lot, but there were certainly a couple of other artists that I think Red relates to. This kind of makes me think of Alex Katz and some of his cutouts. And yeah, the other person that this makes me think about is Larry Rivers, and there's a lot that they shared. This is pearl white in a World War I canteen uniform. Now this really shows you how competent Red was as just a draftsman and as a painter. That's watercolor. This is titled Spencer and Elise, circa 1965. Watercolor on paper. Great headline. Les Levine and Robert Rauschenberg on the front page of some magazine. But he's cut out his color and layered it on there in 3 dimensions. Here we got some of his nice, I believe that's ballpoint pen, ink and colored pencil on wood. What do you know about Archie Connor? That's 2017, ink and oil. Great light quality in that. The Balloonist, 1956. Portrait of a Visitor, 1961. I think Red was also part of the Jane Street Gallery, and actually Larry was part of that, Leland Bell. Some other figurative painters that were kind of going against the grain of abstract expressionism. It's called Bugatti Verum, 2007. I think this is also a very interesting painting. Bert Ivers in his garden, 1964, oil on canvas, 40 by 50 inches. Another great drawing, Fastball, Roger Clemens, 2018, colored pencil graphite on wood. Thoughts on Morality, 2016, acrylic on canvas, 20 by 26. And again, I think he's one of the few people I know that can use acrylics with conviction and they don't start to look plasticky. Expatriate, Cabo, Brussels, 1960, oil on canvas, 27 by 19. La Cuisine Cano La Planqueville. Geraldine with Teapot. You know, some of these early pieces, it's actually almost the color range of a Vuillard. Brancusi, after a photograph of himself. Durain with Sports Car, 1998. That's a nice chunky little oil painting. I thought this was an interesting painting. Roger and his Dragster, 1964. Evidently, Roger was Red's brother. And gosh, he was driving it looks like a AA fuel dragster, supercharged. That looks like a lot of fun, but I'm also thinking somebody's got to have some money. You can't build an automobile like that if you don't have some money to throw away. This has been Red Grooms Handiwork, 1955 to 2018. Here at Marlbrough Contemporary. Okay, I'll drink to that.
Okay. So that's kind of like my thing to think about, like, especially as media is like a fabulous thing, but there's an idea of perfectionism within it. So I like to look at this idea of like not hitting the perfectionism. So like something that you
Right. I know, I read the right.
Okay, cool. So you just see the pen there, right on what you want to read out of your life, and then put the goggles on.
Thank you. This is really awesome.
So what's the title of this piece?
This piece is from Pure.
Pure?
Yes, from the Women's Trilogy Project.
Okay. We're going to get to see you shovel some more of the shards?
Pardon me?
Can we see you shovel some more of the shards? That was very...
Okay.
I like that. That was very dramatic.
So all
Yeah.
negative thoughts that we all carry around with us.
So these are actually shards from all of the little ivory soap forms that people have smashed over the weekend?
They're writing down their negative thoughts that they carry around with them.
Do you have any idea how many you actually smashed?
Between the gallery show in Chelsea at Layla House and here over 2,000.
Over 2,000. Wow.
I'm going to make room for more negative thoughts to believe.
And are you Rachel Lee?
Yeah, I'm making it Hovnanian.
Hovnanian. Okay, Rachel Lee. Actually, that's a very nice piece. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can like this, share, subscribe, and leave your thoughts, comments, criticisms, suggestions below. But please join me in saying thank you, Kate. Okay, all right. That was swinging. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.